Welcome to Kindness Stories, the place where ordinary moments turn into extraordinary tales of courage, kindness, and the power to stand up for what is right. If you love stories that make your heart believe in the goodness of people, then you're in the right place. Make sure you watch until the end because this story will change the way you look at standing up for yourself and others. It all started on a warm Monday morning when Emma walked through the creaking gates of her new high school. Her mother had moved them here after a messy divorce, hoping that a new town would give them both a fresh start. Emma was only 16, but she already knew the weight of starting over far too well. She clutched her faded backpack tighter as she stepped onto the campus, trying to ignore the stares and the murmurs that always followed someone new. Emma wasn't like most girls at her new school. She had short hair that she often tucked behind her ears and a posture that seemed both strong and reserved. She wore an old denim jacket over her uniform skirt, and though she looked fragile to some, her eyes held something unspoken, a quiet warning. Perhaps, by third period, the whispers had already started, rumors that she was some runaway, or that she'd been expelled from her last school for fighting. None of it was true, but the truth hardly mattered in a place like this, where the old social hierarchy was always eager to find a new target. It didn't take long for the bullies to notice her. They were the usual kind, a pack of kids whose only source of pride was the fear they instilled in others. At the top of the group was Marcus, a tall boy with slick back hair and an arrogant smirk. His sidekicks, Jay and Travis, followed him everywhere, laughing at every cruel joke he made. Emma felt their eyes on her the moment she sat down at a lunch table. In the far corner of the cafeteria, she opened her lunchbox, a simple sandwich and an apple, and tried to pretend she didn't hear them whispering. But then they came over, their sneakers squeaking on the floor. Hey, new girl, Marcus said, leaning down so close that Emma could smell the cheap cologne he wore. Mind if we join you? He didn't wait for an answer before sitting opposite her, his elbows splayed wide as if he owned the place. Jay and Travis flanked him on either side, sneering at Emma's food. Emma didn't look up. She took a small bite of her sandwich, chewing slowly. The table around them went quiet, kids sensing trouble, but too afraid to intervene. Marcus drummed his fingers on the table. What's your name, huh? You got a name, or are you mute too? Emma finally lifted her eyes. Calm, steady, Emma. Emma. Marcus rolled the name around on his tongue like a piece of candy he might spit out at any moment. Well, Emma, you're sitting at our table. She glanced at the empty cafeteria around them. It's just a table. Jay snorted. She's got a mouth on her. Travis elbowed him, grinning. Wonder what else she's got. Marcus leaned back, feigning innocence. Yeah, maybe she should show us, huh? New girl like you needs to learn how things work around here. Emma pushed her lunchbox aside and stood up. She had that same look in her eyes, the quiet warning. I'm not looking for trouble, she said softly. Marcus laughed. Trouble's looking for you, sweetheart. The moment stretched, the cafeteria holding its breath. Marcus reached out, his hand brushing against the hem of Emma's skirt. His fingers tugged, not enough to tear it, but enough to humiliate. His friends howled with laughter, but before the sound could even echo, something changed in Emma's eyes. It was like watching a switch flip. She grabbed Marcus's wrist so fast that no one saw it coming. In one fluid motion, she twisted his arm behind his back and slammed his face against the table. The entire cafeteria gasped. Marcus screamed, in pain as Emma leaned closer, her voice cold and calm. Don't ever touch me again. Jay lunged at her from the side, trying to pull her off Marcus. But Emma stepped back, twisted his wrist too, and sent him sprawling onto the floor. Travis hesitated, torn between helping his friends and running for the door. Emma locked eyes with him. He chose the door. Teachers burst into the cafeteria a moment later, alerted by the commotion. But by then, Emma was already sitting back down, calmly picking up her sandwich as if nothing had happened. The principal's office was a dull, windowless room that smelled of old books and stale coffee. Emma sat across from Mr. Andrews, the school principal, who peered at her over the top of his glasses. Emma. We have a strict no-violence policy here, he began, his voice trying to sound stern, but wavering slightly. Emma didn't flinch. They touched me. I defended myself. Mr. Andrews sighed. I understand. but you broke his wrist. Asterisk Emma met his gaze, unblinking. If he hadn't grabbed me, I wouldn't have had to. Asterisk for a moment. There was silence. Then, Mr. Andrews leaned back in his chair. I don't want to expel you, Emma. You've only just started here, but you have to understand. We can't have students fighting like this. Asterisk I didn't start the fight, Emma repeated. Asterisk he knew she was right. The security cameras had captured everything. Marcus's parents were already demanding that Emma be expelled, but the footage was clear. He had provoked her, crossed the line, and paid the price. Asterisk Mr. Andrews sighed again, rubbing his temples. I'll have to suspend you for 3 days, and you'll need to see the counselor when you come back. Asterisk Emma nodded. Okay. Asterisk as she left the office, she could hear Marcus's mother yelling down the hall. She didn't care. She had done what she had to do. Asterisk the news spread like wildfire. By the time Emma returned to school, she was a legend. Some students avoided her, scared of the girl who could break bones without blinking, but others looked at her with newfound respect, admiration, even. She didn't care much for either reaction. She just wanted to get through the year without any more trouble. Asterisk, but trouble, it seemed, had a way of finding her. Asterisk a few weeks later, Emma was sitting alone under an old oak tree behind the school, when she heard a voice. Hey, Asterisk she looked up to see a small girl with oversized glasses and a backpack that seemed to swallow her whole. She hovered a few feet away, clutching her books to her chest. Asterisk I'm Mia, the girl said, her voice barely above a whisper. Can I sit here? Asterisk Emma shrugged. It's a free country. Asterisk Mia sat down, setting her books in her lap. For a while, they sat in silence, listening to the leaves rustle overhead. Asterisk you really broke Marcus's wrist? Mia asked suddenly. Asterisk Emma sighed. Yeah. Asterisk that's so cool. Mia giggled, then quickly covered her mouth. Sorry. I mean, not that violence is cool, but you know what I mean. You stood up for yourself. Nobody does that here. Asterisk Emma turned to look at her. Why not? Asterisk Mia hesitated. Because they're scared. Marcus and his friends. They've been making people's lives miserable. For years. Everyone's too afraid to say anything. Asterisk Emma frowned. Where are the teachers? Asterisk they looked the other way. Mia said with a sad shrug. If you complain, it just makes it worse. Asterisk Emma thought about that. She knew what it was like to feel powerless. But she also knew that sometimes all it took was one person to show others that they didn't have to be afraid. Asterisk from that day on, Mia started sitting with Emma every lunch break. She would chatter about books she was reading, about her cat, about her dream to be an artist someday. Emma would listen, sometimes smiling, sometimes just nodding. It was nice to have someone who didn't look at her like she was a monster. Asterisk one afternoon, Mia came running to Emma, tears streaming down her cheeks. They took my sketchbook, she sobbed. Marcus and Jay. They grabbed it out of my bag and threw it in the dumpster. I can't find it. Asterisk Emma felt something cold settle in her chest. Where are they now? Asterisk Mia pointed toward the back of the gym. Emma stood up, brushing the grass off her skirt. Stay here. Asterisk she found Marcus and Jay leaning against the wall, smoking cigarettes they'd stolen from one of their older brothers. When they saw Emma, they laughed out. Asterisk look who it is. The wrist breaker. Marcus sneered, his arm still in a cast. Come to finish the job. Asterisk Emma ignored him. Give Mia her sketchbook back. Asterisk Jay flicked his cigarette onto the ground. Or what? You gonna snap my arm too? Asterisk Emma stepped closer. Try me. Asterisk Marcus glared at her. We don't have it. Maybe you should check the dumpster again. Asterisk Emma didn't move. She just stood there, staring at them until Marcus shifted uncomfortably. He hated that he couldn't intimidate her. Asterisk whatever. He spat. It was just stupid drawings anyway. Asterisk Emma turned on her heel and marched to the dumpster behind the gym. She climbed up, ignoring the smell, and rifled through the garbage until she found the tattered sketchbook, pages smudged but intact. She wiped it off and brought it back to Mia, who hugged it to her chest like it was a treasure. Asterisk thank you. Mia whispered. You didn't have to do that. Asterisk Emma shrugged. Nobody messes with my friends. Asterisk word spread again. This time, it wasn't fear that followed Emma through the halls. It was something else, hope. Other students started coming to her, telling her their stories, asking for advice on how to stand up to the bullies. Emma didn't have all the answers, but she listened. She taught me how to hold her chin up, how to speak firmly, how to walk away when someone tried to get under her skin.